Welcome back, Tampa. It is time for the Let's Go Low Show right here on AM 820 with our friend and special guest that comes with us on the weekends. He's on my bag all the time, Mr. Mike Hicks, Payne Stewarts, Caddie. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing great, Jeff. Doing great. How about yourself, buddy?
Doing good. So we had, quite the drama here in Tampa this weekend. At the RBC because both Jackson Suber and Jimmy Stanger are from the Tampa area. Jimmy went to University of Virginia, but he was homeschooled here and raised at Avila Country Club where he learned to play. And then Jackson Suber went to Plant High School, and his home course where he was growing up was Palmacia. Two great clubs in the area. And they were both atop the leaderboard on Sunday. So Tampa was biting its nails throughout that whole tournament. And, kind of wanted to get your thoughts. Didn't get it done, but as a young man, especially Jackson Suber, let's talk a little bit about maybe what he might have learned, at this weekend's RBC.
I think he's played. He's kind of been in the mix the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think his name has been up there a couple times. So obviously he's getting a little more and more comfortable with it. It was nice to see him, hang in there and hang tough after, a stretch of holes there where, he gave some shots back. So, it's a learning process. The more you're there, the more comfortable you get. Very penal off the tee at that course up there in Canada. I mean, the grass, my gosh, how high was that grass if you missed the fairway? Not that far off the fairway either, and around the bunkers, how high the grass was. So very difficult place to drive the ball, and it would have been really difficult had they not had rain, where those fairways would have shrunk up even more. If the fairways had been firm, I don't think you'd have seen 18 under or 17 under, whatever Bud shot. I don't think it would have gotten that far into par. But and Jimmy, felt bad for Jimmy. He's got 6 iron to that last hole. Just a little offline. Great up and down for bogey though. That made him some extra cash, but it was nice to see Jimmy get in the mix. I was happy for him. He's a good fella. Both those guys, good guys. So it was good to see them both in contention.
Yeah, I know it was also nice to see Bud Cauley, pull it off. I mean,
100%.
15 plus years on the tour, no wins. Had an accident, years back that seemed to kind of, derail, but he never gave up,
No.
So what a great story there.
Yeah, what a back nine he played. I mean, making 4 in a row there on the back nine, and basically just ran away and hid from those guys. It was great to see Bud. Bud's always been considered a really good player, and injuries and just misfortune has really, really cost him. But I was glad to see him get it done.
Yeah, same here. I was rooting for, obviously, I play golf with Jimmy's dad at my club here in Avila, and I was rooting for Jimmy to get it done for sure.
Yeah.
Especially after that start, we've 4 birdies in a row to start the on Sunday. That was fantastic. We're talking with Mike Hicks from Mike Hicks Golf. Mike is our special guest here on the Let's Go Low show, brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com if you want to check it out. We got some membership offerings. We have even a free membership. Check it out, golfersunite.com. You can get access to our deals if you join for free, 4 of them. Or if you want to become a premium member, just $30 for the year or $5 a month, and you can get access to 14 more deals. So, Mike, kind of, talking a little bit more about Jimmy. You're his caddy and you're on 18, and you're I think 2 shots off the lead at that time on an eagleable hole where several people eagled it towards the end. What are your thoughts, discussions? Obviously he went after it and just came up a little bit short, whether a little gust of wind and kind of hit the bank, and everything seemed like that was short, went in the water. Just what would your conversation with Payne or another player, going into that shot?
Well, he had 6 iron to the green, so it's not like he's back there with a wood or, he just tugged it a touch. I mean, had that ball been 20 feet right of the pin, he would have had he'd had a good look at eagle. But probably the conversation you would have had was, let's give ourselves a shot, and just, a little right of the pin here. And he probably was aiming over there and just tugged it. So, I mean, hats off for him for going for it. At that point, you're either one of 2 people. You're just trying to make a check or you're trying to win the golf tournament. And Jimmy was obviously trying to win the golf tournament. So my hat's off to him for taking on that flag. And, it just didn't work out for him. But, like I said before, I mean, the more you're there, the more comfortable you get. And, he obviously played great golf all week. So his game is good. I think he's in the Open this week. I think he qualified.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he did qualify in Texas a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Another shot at it.
Yeah. So, it'd be nice to see him, continue his good play this week at Shinnecock. Because, that's kind of how it goes with these guys. If they find something and, and Jimmy's always been considered a good ball striker, and he's got a nice swing. So hopefully he can carry it over this week. I wouldn't be surprised to see his name on the board again this week. And obviously you're not going to have to make that many birdies, to contend this week.
Right.
A handful.
It'd be nice. You'd probably walk away with it if you had that.
Right. But kudos to both those guys. They played well, and I was happy for both of them.
Yeah, overall, it was just a great weekend of golf, especially for the Tampa guys, Jackson and Jimmy. But I wasn't my heart went out to Bud Colley, for getting that first victory.
Yeah.
After almost 250 career starts. So,
yeah.
Kudos to that. And both Jimmy and Jackson will be in the Open. I think they both qualified. So, that experience will go a long way. We're talking with Mike Hicks. Mike was Payne Stewarts' caddy. And he is our special guest on Saturday mornings on the Caddies Corner for the Let's Go Low radio show right here on AM 820. Brought to you by Golfers Unite. You guys can check out golfersunite.com. Lots of great things that we got going on, including a new service that we just added, and which actually Mike uses, which is our GU AI artist, which you can actually upload one of your favorite pictures and it'll convert it into kind of a painting, colored sketch, and a black and white sketch for free. You can check it out. Just go to golfersunite.com. Now, Mike, it's probably a good time to maybe shift to talk about the U.S. Open at Shinnecock. It's coming up, this week, and when our listeners are going to be listening to it, it's going to be Saturday morning, moving day. But the weather forecast looks great, and I know we've had you on talking about tournaments and before and the weather, but it looks like it's going to be mid 70s, 10-mile-an-hour winds and pretty clear skies. What does that set up for Shinnecock?
Well, the scoring will be, pretty good for U.S. standards. Nobody's going to shoot, 800-900 around Shinnecock Hills because it's probably going to play relatively firm. because I don't think they've had a whole lot of rain up there. They may get some rain today. This is Monday, so you may get some rain. But then by Thursday, that'll be gone. That softness will be gone, and by Sunday it should be really firm and fast. So, and it doesn't take much wind to make things even more difficult. And I think you're probably going to see 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. It's right there by the ocean, so you're always going to get that ocean breeze. So I expect the scoring. I don't think you'll see any carnage just because it's not, you're not going to have 20, 30 mile an hour winds, and the course is going to be relatively benign as far as firmness goes. It won't get out of control, I don't think. So look for 4, 5, 6 under maybe to win the golf tournament. Be my guess.
Yeah, we're talking with Mike Hicks on the Caddy Corner right here on the Let's Go Low show, hosted by Jeff Stanislow, brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. So, Mike, when you look at what should be a great weather week, a very difficult golf course in Shinnecock Hills, who you kind of like, and whose game do you think is ready for this format this week? I'm not going to hold you to it, because it'll be moving day when our audience is listening to this. But going into the tournament, who do you think is playing good, and who to keep an eye on?
Well, this particular event, now you do have some unknowns that creep up there and win a U.S. Open, but the cream will rise to the top. I firmly believe that. I think they're your best players. There'll be a handful of them that'll be right there. If McIlroy figures his driver out, he'll probably contend. Bryson seems to have a knack for being right there in the U.S. Open. So, if he's got control of his tee balls, he probably will be up there. I mean, Cameron Young, who in my opinion is, playing as good as anybody in the world. He hasn't played in a while. It looks like he's, he's probably been to Shinnecock a few times, and he's probably well prepared. So, I think the cream will rise to the top there. They usually do. If you go back and look at the winners at Shinnecock, they're all world class. I mean, you can't fake it around that joint. So,
yeah, exactly. It's interesting.
Even Brooks, he's peak. He's trending in the right direction. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him, up there starting the weekend. But I don't think you'll see any, unknown, not household name guys contending around Shinnecock.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting that historically it's played pretty brutally. There's only 3 golfers, Retief Goosen, Phil Mickelson, and Ray Floyd, have actually finished under par at Shinnecock in the last 100 years. So, when you're talking, to make the birdies and get under par, you're playing some really good golf.
Yeah.
We're talking with Mike Hicks. Mike was Payne Stewarts' caddy, and he is our special guest here in the Caddies Corner on the Let's Go Low show with Jeff Stanislow, your host, and sponsored by our friends at Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. Check it out. We have free memberships available, and you can get access to some of our deals right there at golfersunite.com. Mike, I think Brooks needs a little attention. He pulled out of this, tournament at the RBC. What do you think's going on through his head right now? Maybe he just wanted the extra rest for Shinnecock.
I didn't know that he pulled out. He pulled out?
Yeah, he pulled out.
On Sunday?
Saturday, I think.
I thought he shot a big number on Saturday. I didn't realize he pulled out. I thought he even played yesterday.
Yeah. Nope. He pulled out, but it doesn't seem like his game is on his normal MO right now.
Well, he wouldn't have pulled out unless he had tweaked something. So, bad back or, something physically happened if he pulled out. So, and it would make sense. I mean, I didn't realize, but he obviously realizes that his game is trending in the right direction and that he will have a chance this week. So if something was borderline, if he probably could have finished the round or finished the tournament, but didn't want to take any chances if it was a back issue, or I think he's had wrist issues in the past. So, who knows? But I didn't realize he had pulled out.
Yeah. Well, Mike, this concludes another episode of the Let's Go Low show right here on AM 820, the Big 8. This is Mike Hicks. Appreciate you coming again, once again. And maybe Scotty Scheffler might get it done again for his 30th birthday, which falls on Father's Day. So
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see it. He would complete the slam too.
Yes.
So, what a storyline that would be, right?
Fantastic. Well, listen, Mike, I appreciate your time, and we'll all be tuned in for the U.S. Open this year. This is Jeff Stanislow signing off for the Let's Go Low show right here on AM 820 every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Welcome back. This is Jeff, and it's time to go low right here on AM 820, the Big 8 in Tampa. We are very thankful for our listening audience and appreciate you guys very much. I know many of you are probably teeing it up right now, Saturday morning at 8 a.m., but hopefully you catch us on our YouTube channel. You can go to golfersunite.com and click on the homepage, and you can get access to all these great episodes that we've been doing right here on the Big 8, AM 820. This episode is brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. If you want to check us out, you can become a free member and get access to 4 great brand deals. And if you want to be a paid member for only $30, you can get access to 14 more brand deals. A very simple, easy way to save some money right here at golfersunite.com. Today, our special guest is Emily Nowak. Emily and I work together and here at Golfers Unite. But Emily has a lot of experience in working at clubs that host events. And so I thought with the U.S. Open going on right now, some of our listeners would maybe like to hear some behind the scenes stories of what happens when they put on a large event like this, the vibe, preparation, what have you. So Emily, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yep, I'm happy to be here again with you. Thanks for having me.
So Emily, as we kind of are sitting here now, the U.S. Open's getting ready to kick off. They do a tremendous amount of planning, organization, from meeting with the powers to be at the USGA, to sponsors, to the club people, staffing up and all that stuff. So you've been a part of that. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how far in advance do they start doing these talks, and maybe some experience that you had in helping prepare for it.
Yeah. So things do start pretty early. Even with the course kind of closing down to membership or the public, that's going to be about 3 weeks in advance. And then about a week out, the USGA or whoever's hosting the event just completely takes over. And that is where they're having as many conversations with the staff as possible, telling them where they can and can't go in the clubhouse, telling them security issues, where you can park, how you're eating, how you're kind of operating in the club that you're usually used to being yours, but you kind of have to give that club away at a certain point. So it kind of isn't yours anymore. But yeah, I would say about 3 to 4 weeks out is when that gets really serious.
So, I'm involved in the Valspar as a copperhead as well. So I'm, I talk with Tracy West, and she's the executive director, and so she gave me some insights in regards to the planning, especially one that is an annual one. Like it's a little bit different because, you look at like the US Open, it changes location. So it's almost, it's not, rinse and repeat. It is a whole new venue, a whole new thing. You get those larger stage majors that move around to different clubs. We're talking with Emily Nowak, and this is Jeff from Golfers Unite. You're listening to the Let's Go Low show right here on AM 820, and we appreciate your time and tuning in. Emily, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? I know you went to school for this, and maybe in when you're at one of your classes, they kind of talk about event management.
Yeah, that was definitely one of our courses, and interesting enough, as we're kind of going through these classes, they're preparing us for you are going to be the people at Augusta eventually, being either the head pro, the director of golf. Kind of my program has the best placement, kind of the original program, and eventually a Fair State alum usually ends up at one of these huge venues, working full time. So they kind of prepare you for that. A lot of what goes in the behind the scenes, confidentiality, things like that. So they really start preparing you for that early. But yeah, I would say that we do get ready to be a part of a big situation like this in school. And one of our professors is actually the #1 rules official in golf. So he kind of had some great insight into these major events and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely something they prepare us for. In case we end up working in it at some point or working at the facility full time. A lot of my classmates, even if they don't work at these facilities, they'll kind of take a month or two off and go work the US Open or work the Masters, things like that. So,
they kind of ramp up, right? I mean, a lot of times, these like the USGA and Shinnecock, I was watching the Golf Channel earlier, and their normal staff is I think he said 76.
Yeah.
But they have over 300 right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can kind of see the ramp up. So some of your classmates might be one of those people that kind of like the traveling nurse. They come in like at big events and they go to big events, when they need them to get going.
That's exactly what it is. And every Tuesday we'd meet for a PGM meeting. And as I got closer to these events, if you were going to an area on internship near US Open, PGA Championship, they kind of recruit you, and they kind of want you to come in, do a contract with them for a couple months. So that's kind of where they get the staff from. They have either PGM students, other PGA professionals that are able to take that time off. So yeah, they're really good at staffing them. They have specific staffing departments like amongst the USGA to kind of get these people in.
Yeah, you mentioned something that's kind of interesting. This is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to the Let's Go Low show right here on AM 820 every Saturday morning at 8. Also get to listen to Mike Hicks, Payne Stewarts' former caddy, doing the Caddy Corner usually most Saturdays with us. Today we're talking with Emily Nowak. Emily is a part of my team at Golfers Unite, which brings you this radio show, golfersunite.com. If you guys check it out, we appreciate your support. Emily, you brought up something kind of interesting that one of your professors was like the #1 rules guy for, the PGA or whatever it was. But, what's interesting about that is, once you start peeling back the layers of a major event and identifying everything that kind of needs to happen, you bring up like someone's got to, do all the rules. So someone from the USGA who heads up the rules person has to come in, and they probably come in real early and they map out the course, and then they have to line it, what's going to be white, what's going to be yellow, what's going to be red. And then, they have to ascertain any local rules that like maybe a Shinnecock might have. So this is probably a couple months in preparation alone. And then you kind of have like, the course becomes a mini city,
Yeah, for sure.
So you have your facilities managers, you have, operations, because they got to build grandstands, they got to do, merch tents, they got to, build media towers and all that different types of stuff. And so like, just putting on an event is, all fine and dandy, but it is a pretty big business. And you bring up a good point about, peeling back the onion. Now you were involved in, some stuff. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about, I know you said you worked on a, web.com event at one of your places. Maybe just tell us a little bit about, how that went and, what it was and, what part did you play?
Yeah, so I was an intern at the Ivanhoe Club from 2017 to 2018, and we hosted the Rust-Oleum, and I believe they hosted it for like 10 years. So it was the same venue. They came back time and time again because the Rust-Oleum CEO was actually a member at our club, so he kind of got that as the
That's
hosting.
helpful.
Yeah, no, it was
Helpful to
awesome.
bring a tournament to you.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice having a member there. He knows everything that goes on, especially with hosting it for 10 or 12 years. They kind of had that thing figured out. We didn't have to shut down the club too early. They were pretty good at working around the membership. It wasn't a huge membership, but yeah, it was a lot of talks. So I was an intern and I actually lived in the clubhouse during the
You
event.
lived in the clubhouse?
Yep, I lived upstairs. There were 4 bedrooms upstairs. So
Wow.
I had a beautiful view over the golf course every night when the sun would set. It was amazing. But there were certain, like I had to be out of my room at a certain point and I couldn't go back in for a certain amount of time until the players were mostly off the property. So that's kind of where those like security talks came in. The web.com crew was in there about 2 weeks before, just kind of, they put kind of caution tape signs everywhere around the clubhouse so people knew where they could and couldn't go, especially with the membership still playing the course. But yeah, it's very different because you have the membership that has free tickets, but they can't come into the clubhouse. They can't access their locker room. So you kind of, it's a weird feeling to be like, no, you're not allowed in when all you're used to saying is yes to them.
Right.
So it's a very interesting experience. And kind of the biggest thing that I think of now after every golf tournament is, wow, that golf course must be torn up from those grandstands. And that's really not something you see, but the superintendent staff has to work overtime to get that golf course back into playable condition. They beat the rough down. There's all the spots where everybody was walking. So it's pretty much not the same golf course by the time it's returned to you. But it's very interesting. And then usually on that Monday, the staff you gets to go out and play the course in the tournament position or condition. So I'm sure the Shinnecock staff, all 300 of them, probably are offered the opportunity to play after the event. And that's kind of just a huge bonus on top of everything.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You're listening to Emily Nowak. Emily is a PGA guru, schooled in Michigan and went to the professional golf management school at Ferris State. It's been part of large tournaments, web.com, and many others. We're just talking about like behind the scenes things that might be going on in the US Open right now. It's moving day today when you're listening to us. And our next segment, Emily and I are going to kind of go over our picks and who we think is going to win. So be sure to tune in to our next segment for that. But Emily, there's a lot of curveballs in doing a big event. Probably the biggest one I would think about is weather, right? I mean, you're not in control if a front comes through or delays and what have you. So I'd imagine there's got to be a lot of contingency plans being done for weather delays, and then even cancellations of a round and finishing up on Monday. It's been a little while since since we've had a Monday finish.
It really has been, yeah.
Thankfully, knock on wood, we're all happy about that, especially the people that love watching the finishes on Sunday afternoon and, have to work on Monday. And if it gets delayed, can't watch it on Monday. But, what were some of the things that maybe you kind of experienced in regards to some weather conditions, when planning for an event, and, what do they do? I'd imagine, everything just gets pushed back.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And kind of the stress there is if there's weather, that's one more day that the membership has without the course, or God forbid it's like Pebble Beach. They have those tee times booked out years in advance probably, and everything kind of has to get pushed back an entire day. So Private course is a little bit easier because it's a membership you're dealing with. But if, say, the U.S. Open is at a public course, now the cleanup is pushed back a day. You can't get people on the golf course for an entire extra day. So it really just throws a wrench in the plans, but there's really not anything you can do with it. Like, you just literally have to pick everything up and move it back a day, like you said.
Right.
Not really much you can do about it, unfortunately.
So we're talking with Emily Nowak. Emily is part of my team here at Golfers Unite. This radio show, Let's Go Low, is hosted by me, Jeff Stanislaw, and brought to you by Golfers Unite. You guys get a chance, check out golfersunite.com. It's a online community where you can get a free membership or a paid membership and get access to great brand deals from club manufacturer like Tacoma, golf ball manufacturer like Seed. We have deals like for pinned golf and Sunday golf for golf bags. So check out golfersunite.com if you're a golfer and you want to get access to some deals. Emily, we're talking behind the scenes of event planning, so there's actually the event, and maybe let's pivot a little bit to what happens after the event. I know you mentioned something about, hey, the team gets to go play, on the Monday after and get to enjoy it and unwind. But, what types of things happen after an event, that maybe our listening audience might not know about?
Yeah, so actually the funniest thing that I remember is just how much merch we had left over, how much merch we had that said Rust-Oleum 2017, and you now have to find something to do with your boxes and boxes of merch that are left over. So I would imagine it's the same thing with kind of the US Open. You're kind of left with whatever's left over from the tournament in general. So you'll have junk on the golf courses, you'll have random pipes that were left, you'll have muddy fairways, muddy rough. But yeah, I just mostly remember having boxes and boxes of merch left over.
Boxes and boxes and boxes.
And having to figure out how to give it away too.
This year after the Valspar, a few days later, I had to go get something. And I went into their offices, and I can attest there is boxes and boxes of different stuff and signs and merchandise and things all over the place at that thing. I was like, man, how do you guys even work in here? It's like, well, we got to get it all in, and then we go figure it out, over time. Emily Nowak from Golfers Unite joining us, talking about the U.S. Open. One big thing that I wanted to talk about, and maybe, your club at the web.com probably didn't have as big as economic impact, but, the US Open does.
Mm-hmm.
And, in 2022, it was reported that it was about $175 million worth of economic impact, to Boston. And then, in the New York, in Torrey Pines, about 150 million when they hosted the US Open. So there's some big money behind this thing. This isn't just, that's why they get the TV contracts. That's why, they get the coverage, and, those things are all part of it. It's just the economic impact for one city for one week's time that golf brings to them. Do you have any insight on the economic impact of maybe the club that you mentioned for the web.com?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, it was just the jobs it provided for kind of that 2-week period. We did have some locals come in, help sell some merch, help with food, all that kinds of stuff. So I think, it definitely gave some people jobs.
Travel too. I mean, your hotels are full for the players, Airbnbs, all the support staff that comes into it. So
and it was a smaller town, Mundelein, Illinois, and definitely people did. I mean, it's a web.com event, so you don't expect people to be like coming in from
local
all around.
People mostly.
But it was. I mean, it's a really good turnout.
Not too many private jets flying in for the weekend at the web.com tour.
Just to drive up from Chicago or something like that.
Yeah.
But, it was a pretty big crowd. I was actually impressed. And it was awesome. Just it was a club I was proud of. I love that club so much. So just seeing how many people were on property. And
what was the club again?
It's called the Ivanhoe Club.
It's
about 45 minutes north of Chicago.
Okay.
We had some pretty big members. We had a lot of Bears players. Patrick Manley was a member there. So
Okay.
a really good, like, low-key club for people wanting to get away from the city a little
Yeah.
bit.
Great golf in Chicago. That's for
Oh,
sure.
yes. It is it's different than, it's soft like Michigan, but like the layouts are so different. I like kind of the city courses, kind of
Right.
tucked in where they don't belong. But yeah, I mean, it was an awesome experience kind of seeing the club booming with people who don't usually get to appreciate it. And it was absolutely gorgeous. So it was really cool just seeing everybody appreciating it.
Well, Emily Nowak, thanks for joining us here on the Let's Go Low show. We're going to come back after this, and we're going to talk about our predictions for the U.S. Open at Shinnecock. So again, this is Jeff Stanislow from Golfers Unite. We appreciate you tuning in to the Let's Go Low show here, right here on AM 820 in the great Tampa Bay area. Hey golfers, it is time to go low right here on AM 820, the Big 8, every Saturday morning. It is the Let's Go Low radio show hosted by Jeff Stanislow and my team at Golfers Unite. That's golfersunite.com. As promised, we have Emily Nowak back, and we are going to talk the U.S. Open. So, Emily, big week this week. Today's moving Saturday. Let's just talk a little bit about the Shinnecock Hills, the golf course that's hosting it. It is going to play tough, and we all know that. I mean, it's a fight. Everybody knows the U.S. Open. I mean, just like your opinion, do you think they go like too far? You know what I mean? At Shinnecock, there's only ever been 3 winners that have been under par in the history of them hosting the U.S. Open. But just like, what are you as a golfer in the business, myself, I think they make it too hard. I don't like to see 30 under, but I think these guys are respectable. If they're single digit, low double digit, wins, I think that's that's what they should be doing.
Yeah, I think that like the last time that they played at Shinnecock Hills, it obviously was a nightmare. I think that's when we had Phil tap in his still moving ball because the greens were just so dry. But I think it had more to do with the weather. I think it was really hot that week. It was super windy, the wind coming off the water. I think that just kind of added to it. But I agree with you. I want to see them struggle a little bit out there. I don't want to see them shooting way over par. I just want to see them looking like a normal person out there, not completely struggling the whole time.
I mean, the game is humbling enough, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we kind of look to the pros for those low numbers and to, go out and shoot, 9, 10 under after 4 rounds of golf. That's 2 or 3 under a round is kind of like where we like to see it. Now, we don't like to see the 10 unders a day, where they're coming in 30 under for the tournament. We also look at a golf course and we want it to be hard and difficult. You know what I mean? But we don't feel like they should trick it up and just be menacing to these golfers and try to force them into these, crazy, difficult situations. We're talking with Emily Nowak from Golfers Unite. This is Jeff Stanislow, your host of the Let's Go Low radio show right here on AM 820. Tampa, we appreciate you tuning in. If you get a chance, go to golfersunite.com. Check us out. We have free memberships. You get access to 4 of our premium deals that we got there. Paid membership for $30, you get access to 14 more. Great members benefits from organizations and equipment manufacturers like Tacoma, Pinned Golf. We have Seed Golf. We have Payne Stewarts collection, Seymour putters, a lot. Check it out, golfersunite.com. Emily, get back to Shinnecock here and, some of the history. So, we're talking about how difficult it is. I mean, they've hosted the U.S. Open several times, but only 3 times has it ever been anybody won it going under par. And so, that's a difficult and a tall ask, for them in regards to that. I think Phil Mickelson did it Retief Goosen did it, and then was it Brooks went under too as well? But let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, like, you're educated and skilled and experienced in the professional golf course management at Ferris State. What are these superintendents kind of thinking in the back of their mind?
So I think that the last Shinnecock, I was shocked that they're hosting it again. I know they choose like way in advance, but honestly, watching last time, I was thinking, I don't know that this is ever going to happen again. I think that their fear is doing what they did last time, really affecting the tournament by the conditions. But yeah, I would say that, their biggest fear is making it completely unplayable, because there is a fine line where it's tough. Like, it's just a tough course, but then you kind of cross that line when the greens are like waxed basketball courts and you can't keep a ball on the So I think that there's definitely art to making it super difficult, but then there's definitely kind of the downside of making it way too difficult, where I kind of think the course conditions themselves, the layout, will bring all the difficulty necessary. But yeah, last time it was pretty tough, and I know that the superintendent crowd, their staff probably got a pretty big talking to after that one.
Yeah.
I know this year they are talking about every day at 2:00 they're going to be watering the greens, and people like Rory McIlroy have spoken out about that, saying it's not fair to water the greens for the afternoon crew, but not them. So there's already some greenskeeping controversies going on.
Yes, I mean, it is, it's a brutal conditions. We know it. Mike Hicks, Payne Stewarts' former caddy, who's our host of the Caddies Corner right here on the Let's Go Low show on AM 820 every Saturday morning right here in Tampa. Mike, is a big believer in, obviously, the weather conditions playing such a major factor in regards to the course. And if it's dry and windy, that's when these guys are going to really struggle, because I love your reference, like a waxed basketball court for the greens, and that's possible this week because the weather conditions look pretty dry. However, the wind looks moderate. They're expecting 5 to 10, 15 mile an hour winds. So the greens will be fast for sure, probably making them a lot smaller because of the dry conditions, but the wind being a factor is to an advantage for the players. This is Jeff Stanislaw, your host of the Let's Go Low show right here every Saturday morning in Tampa and the greater Tampa Bay market. We appreciate you guys tuning in. It's brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. Let's kind of it's moving day right now. The odds-on favorite going in is definitely Scottie Scheffler. I mean, he's at plus 550. Scottie is looking to complete the Grand Slam. He's got the Masters, the PGA, the Open or the British Open, and he's only got the USA US Open left, and it's going to be his 30th birthday on Sunday as well. So what are you thinking about him getting it done? I think he's playing good golf. He's not playing his crazy breakout year a couple of years ago where he just won everything, but he's playing well enough to win this.
Yeah, I think that he's proven time and time again over the last few years, if he wants something, he'll get it or he'll win it. I think that Rory is definitely going to give him a run for his money. It's kind of been the Rory and Scottie show the last year or so. But I really do like Scottie's odds. I think that he's really good at kind of staying within himself, not really stressing about the conditions, just hitting the shot. So I really do like Scottie's odds of winning. Just had a second baby. Like you said, he's turning 30 on Sunday. I think that would just really wrap up kind of his legacy, getting that Grand Slam, especially this early. We've had people who, like Rory, who kind of you wait and you wait and you wait for that Masters win. Right. I think it would be true Scottie fashion to just knock out the Grand Slam just like that.
Yeah, exactly. Then John Rahm, I think he's at plus 1,300, and so He is in the hunt. Cameron Young just been playing really good golf. He hasn't played in a couple of tournaments lately, but maybe just in preparation for this U.S. Open. But he is striking the ball, really, really well. And you mentioned Rory, and Rory loves Shinnecock. He says it's the best championship course in the country. So he's fired up for it. That's for sure. Fitzpatrick, just last weekend at the RBC, came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden the guy's in second place,
He's
and
definitely a sleeper. And I know people are talking about Fitzpatrick coming in, Cam Young. I'm seeing a lot of talks about him. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up at the top. I mean, it's golf, so you can go in with predictions, and someone you've never heard of could win the thing.
And then there's Brooks. Brooks pulled out of the RBC because of injury. So we'll have to see how he's doing. But he just doesn't seem to be himself lately. I mean, not even playing that good. I saw him at the Valspar, live in person. And, you expect to see him atop the leaderboard at these events. And he's just been really silent, So hopefully this injury is not bothering him.
Yeah, and he is he's known for coming back and winning a few US Opens, so it seems to be kind of his tournament to win. Historically, he seems to like the event, so we'll see. I'm excited to see kind of what sleepers come from behind and surprise us on the leaderboard, but I wouldn't be shocked if Scotty wins it at all.
Right. We're talking with Emily Nowak. Emily is part of my team at Golfers Unite. This is Jeff Stanislaw, your host of the Let's Go Low show right here on AM 820, the Big 8 in Tampa Bay area. We appreciate you, all you listeners. You guys are probably getting all ready to watch moving day here at the U.S. Open. And so we appreciate you very much. This is brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com, online golf community where we bring our negotiated deals to you for free. You can get access to 4 of our premium deals. And for just $30 for the year, you get access to all 14 of the deals. We have, brands like Seymour Putters in there. We have foundgolfballs.com if you want to, get a good deal on some, fantastic golf balls. They were kind enough to send us 4 dozen, way more than that, actually, probably like 20 dozen golf balls logoed with Golfers Unite for my recent road trip. We have Payne Stewart collection, Tacoma Golf, and a lot more. So, Emily, as we kind of look at, just the Open in itself, I mean, I love the fact that, amateur golfers can go qualify and play in this. It's a 156-man field this week. And it's the golf, it's rooted by what they call the golf's longest day, where 679 players play across the country for 43 spots. So, those qualifiers, my friend Jimmy Stanger, who actually had a great weekend last weekend at the RBC, and was in the lead on Sunday for a little bit and had a little mishap on 18, but he qualified in Texas. And then, we all know Jackson Suber also qualified, and so he was right there on Sunday at the RBC. Both those guys are from Tampa, so our Tampa listeners, let's give those guys a shout out and root for them at the U.S. Open. So, just talk to me as a golfer yourself, and someone that loves golf, about the format and how exciting it is to just take on these qualifiers.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of very good golfers who have tried it. It is very difficult. Obviously, I mean, these guys are so good who do qualify. But I think one of everybody's favorite parts about things like the US Open or the Masters is seeing that A next to players' names. We love seeing amateurs out there and just kind of giving it a go. But yeah, I mean, people who are trying to qualify, I mean, the prep is insane. I don't know how people work jobs and try to qualify for the US Open. It's almost like it has to be your full-time job because, like I said, these guys are good. But I think it's fun that you can just give it a run. You can just go to your local, you can get built up to eventually playing in the US Open. I think it's very, very cool, unique experience and opportunity, and it just makes the tournament even more fun. Yeah, I just think it makes it way more fun for the fans too, just kind of seeing names on the leaderboard you haven't seen before. And then even on top of that, then you hear the story about how they qualified and their background of golf. And it's just, it develops into this whole new kind of headline in itself.
Yeah, it's really cool. We're talking with Emily Nowak. Emily works with me at Golfers Unite, and Emily also runs her own female golf brand. Emily, why don't you tell us a little bit about Fairway Femme Club?
Yeah, so I started Fairway Femme Club about a year ago, and the goal is to kind of provide an online golf community for women, beginners, kind of people who are getting into the game, make it a little less intimidating for them, and just really make them feel like they're part of a community in that way. So you can find me at the Fairway Femme Club on Instagram, Fairway Femme Club on TikTok, and on all socials. But I have golf instruction, golf news, golf history, pretty much anything under the sun relating to women's golf.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm blessed to have Emily part of the team. Emily also shares some of her training and tips at Golfers Unite. You can check out Golfers Unite on the socials. Just search Golfers Unite in TikTok, Insta, Facebook. You'll find us. And drop us a follow. We would appreciate that very much. Emily, kind of wrapping up our US Open. So I'm going to pick one and you're going to pick one to win. So who's your pick for the US Open?
Oh, I want to go with Tommy Fleetwood. I know I just talked a lot about Scotty, but I really want it for Tommy. And I think that he's got that drive. I think he can do it.
Okay. All right. So I am going to go with the #1 ranked player in the world, Scotty Scheffler. And the only reason why is he's just been in the hunt, really consistent this year. I think he's really focused and dialed in. He was there a couple of weeks ago, played it. I think he's very serious about it. His game is spot on. I think it matches, what's going on with his with this golf course and the demands that is going to be there. Emily Nowak, thanks for joining us here at Golfers Unite Tampa. Thanks for all the love and support for the Let's Go Low show. This is Jeff Stanislaw, your host, signing off, and let's go low.